Is it time for recess yet? I'm so glad you found time to join us here on the Child Care Director's Chair, where Erica Sacoccio shares her best practices that she's refined through her passion of directing childcare centers over the last 23 years. From parenting interaction, systems to save you time, money, and stress, to profitability. She shares it all from the Child Care Director's Chair.
Welcome to today's episode as we invite you to pause and reflect on something we're seeing more and more in schools and in classrooms. And that's rising children's behaviors that are challenging, increasing stress for educators. And we want to really just talk about how these behaviors are not disruptions, but they're signals. And they stress that what follows after isn't weakness, but a message too. What would be the shift if we stop asking, how do we fix the child? And start asking, what is this behavior trying to tell us? And how are we showing up to listen? So today, to help us unpack this in a grounded, compassionate way, we are joined with Prena Richards, a nationally respected child behavior coach, education support consultant. She travels across the country, working directly with schools and leaders, helping them to respond to behavior, not with punishment, but with presence, not with control, but connection. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Erica. Thank you for this invite.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about the landscape. What have you been seeing inside of so many classrooms, speaking with educators all across the country? When you look around right now, what's the story that behavior is telling us right now?
I think across the board, every time I ask, no matter which state I'm speaking in, and this, by the way, is also international because I was speaking in Europe and England, Scotland, Sweden, and this is across the landscape. Increased stress, burnt out, tapped out, overwhelmed teachers, and children acting out, and things that used to work are no longer working. There was a report from Head Start, Region 9. I was speaking in San Diego in December, and they had shared their findings. And it was very surprising. The biggest finding that they were cited for was lack of supervision and inappropriate discipline. And when I shared that research in other places, they were saying consistently that it's across the board. Everybody's seeing an increase, and it shows up as triggered, reacted grown-ups.
Yeah. So we're seeing more dysregulation, more outbursts, more shutdowns, also more exhaustion, right? Because these kids aren't bad. These kids are carrying stress, uncertainty, unmet needs, sometimes trauma. And, they're speaking in the language that they have. And unfortunately, the educators are the ones absorbing it emotionally or mentally. And like you said,
I've been in this,
sometimes physically.
I've been in this field for almost 40 years now. I've never seen it this bad. What used to work is not working. And I think, in all fairness, majority of us are working parents. I'm a working parent. I'm a working grandparent, right? The demands on life on the grown-ups are so much that the children are the ones who are missing out, and they're not getting this connection at home, and they're not getting this connection at school, not because they have bad grown-ups in their world. It's just that everybody's tapped out. It is just a lot that we're demanding of grown-ups, and the children are the ones who get the brunt of it because they don't have the skills to cope with it. And so it becomes really hard.
Yeah. So with that idea that behavior is communication and that's so powerful, what are some of the most misunderstood behaviors that you're seeing in young children right now?
Lots of aggression, lots of screaming, lots of hitting, lots of spitting, lots of biting, lots of defiance, lots of not listening. These are like the top bubble up every time I have but I want to talk about this word challenging behaviors. So I want to talk about it because every single time I put the word challenging behaviors in my title, the room gets packed. There's people sitting on the floor, there's people on the side, like the room is packed. If I put the word play in the title, the room is half empty. People think, I don't need to learn about play, right? But the two are connected. The two are connected. And here's the other thing that I have about this word challenging behaviors. How about we change our mindset about it? There's no one single definition of challenging behaviors. Some people are getting triggered because children don't listen to them. Some people, and I gave you these examples because this is what people are telling me. This is my thing. Some people are saying aggression. Some people are saying rude kids. Some people are saying not listening. So here's the thing. Every grown-up is getting challenged by a different behavior. So it's becoming challenging for them. It's not, the word challenging behavior doesn't exist. It's not challenging behavior on its own. It's challenging because that grown up is becoming challenged by it. And so then we are reacting to it instead of responding to it. And if we don't understand what the behavior is trying to tell us, if we don't know the brain states, we don't know how to respond to it. And so one of the things I tell people is you have to become a behavior detective. You have to unpack what the behavior is trying to communicate. All behavior is a form of communication, whether you like it, don't like it, understand it, don't understand it, agree with it, disagree with it. They're telling you something. As a behavior detective, it's up to us to figure out what brain state are you in? Are you in your survival brain? Are you in your emotional brain? Are you in your learning brain? Because each of the brain states has a different strategy to cope with it. You couldn't use the same strategy for both brain states, 3 brain states.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? About the
Oh,
3
sure.
different brain states? Yeah.
Let's do it. So the survival brain is right here. This is here. The emotional brain is in the middle, and the learning brain is over here in the front of the prefrontal cortex. So the survival brain has one purpose: to keep us safe. That's it. From the time we're born till the time we're not on this earth, the survival brain keeps us safe. If I feel insecure, if I feel threatened, if I feel judged, if I feel nervous, if I have anxiety, I'm slipping to my survival brain. The grown-up slips to their survival brain, the children slip to their survival brain. It happens throughout our life. So some of the behaviors that are associated with the survival brain, they're called the 7 Fs. So the 7 Fs are symptoms of a scared brain. They're not the cause. The cause is I'm scared. The 7 Fs are fight, flight, frightened, freeze, fibbing, fawning, floating. So if I take each one of these Fs, children will fight, physically fight. This is where the aggression comes in. Many children will be aggressive towards somebody else who hasn't even done anything to them. The other child is doing their thing and they go up and they push, they knock, they take, they pinch, they push. Because some of these children are living in their scared brain all the time. They come to school in their survival brain. They live in their survival brain. Their body is tense. And if somebody even comes close to them, they react. I'll give you an example of how I really found this. And I'm like, wow, that is an eye-opening thing. So I was in a classroom. They had invited me because Daniel was super aggressive in this classroom. Daniel is 4 years old. He's super aggressive. He would go to the block area, and the minute he would get to the block area and any of the other kids would come, he would kick, he would push, he would shove, and he was also spitting the teacher. When the teacher would come close to him, he would spit. And the teacher kept saying to him, Daniel, these blocks are for sharing. Daniel, it's for everybody. You can't be the only one in the block area. And while I was observing him, I realized it had nothing to do with sharing. He would go to this area, and the other kids would come, and he would get insecure because they would be in his space. So they were in his bubble, and so to protect himself, he would shove them out. And when I had that aha moment, I was telling the teacher, I said, I don't think this is about sharing. I think this is about personal space. So let's play a game to find out if I'm on the right tracks. So we gave everybody a hula hoop. This was a preschool classroom. We gave everybody a hula hoop, and the game was, I'm going to be in my bubble, my hula hoop. Your bubble, your hula hoop. So we gave them the language. And then we had the kids go into somebody else's hula hoop. And it was fascinating to watch. Some of the kids who don't have personal space issues, when the other kids came in their hula hoop, they'd be grabbing and rolling on the carpet, and there was a thing. Clearly, space is not their thing. What confirmed my guess was when somebody stepped into Daniel's hula hoop, he took a step back. There were too much in his bubble. And I was like, oh my God, he confirms it. That was my guess, but he confirmed it. And then the teacher had an aha moment in that moment. And she said, oh my God, Prena, I think he's spitting on me because I'm getting too close to his face. And he's getting scared. So here's what we did with that. Once we identified that he was getting triggered out of fear and not out of just meanness, we gave him the word and we said, I need space. Daniel, if somebody comes close to you, you have to say, I need space. And we taught the other kids that if Daniel is saying, I need space, you better listen to him. Because if you step in and you get something happening, that's on you then. Right? So the kids learned very quickly to adapt. And guess what? Within 1 week, his aggression dropped down. So that's a very specific example of how he was feeling insecure. And when he had the confidence and the tools to deal with it, he didn't have to be aggressive. So the freeze is, so flight happens, they run. They do something, they get under the table, and they run away from you. There's kids running out of the classroom. But flight is interesting because some of the flight could be from the emotional brain, and some of the flight could be from the scared brain. And this is how you can tell if it's different. If it is from the scared brain, They avoid you. They don't make eye contact. They don't want to be touched, and they're just avoidance is happening. If it is from the emotional brain, they run and they look back because they think it's a game, because you're chasing them. Because the emotional brain is for attention seeking, and the survival brain is because I'm scared. So fight, flight. Frightened is pretty obvious. They cry, they scream, they look upset. That's pretty obvious to see. The freeze is an interesting one that really triggers grown-ups, because they'll ask a child, what happened? What did you do? Why did you do that? Stop doing that. And then the child just shuts down. And what are you feeling? What's going on? And there's this look of like, and this, like you've seen, and then the grown-ups be like, I'm asking you, talk to me, look at me. And they're not being defiant, they're just scared. So they can't answer because the pressure of, what are you feeling right now? What happened? Who did this? We're adding so much pressure. So they just act like that. So fibbing is classic. They tell you lies. And, if you've been raised in a home where lying is a no-no, and remember what happens early in life lasts a lifetime. So if we were raised like that, then no way, lying is not going to happen. Not on my watch, not in my classroom, not in my home. Grown-ups get really defiant about it. Like, don't you lie to me. Yeah, they're lying to you because they're scared. Fawning is classic. I think most girls do it. I haven't seen too many boys do it, but fawning is very interesting because girls are sneaky, right? They're sly. We know this about girls. Yeah, and they'll do something over here. They'll pinch or they'll irritate somebody, and then they'll just escape like nothing happened, and then they'll come to the teacher and they'll use words. They'll use words like, I like your dress. I like your shoes. I love you. Right? They're trying to change the topic because they did sneaky over here. And they're over here trying to change the topic. So that's what fawning looks like. So the next time a grown-up is being fawned, if you have somebody trying to change the topic, make sure you look around the room. Is there somebody crying? Does some sneaky happen? And the last one is floating, right? This is when children get really aggressive and they don't make eye contact. They're just like this. They will look at anything, anywhere, not here. And the teacher's like, look at me. I'm here. Talk to me. I'm here. But they're avoiding. Children with trauma and abuse and neglect tend to float. They create an alternate reality. So they just remove themselves physically. So that's a symptoms of the survival brain.
Yeah, and they're probably afraid too. Like if you said, like if they've had trauma, they're probably even sometimes afraid to make that eye contact with an adult because that can be seen as you're challenging them. And unfortunately, their experience has been, not good around that. Because we do work with some children that have experienced trauma at our program.
So, I went to a trauma-informed school. I was working at a trauma-informed school here in Dallas. And what they taught us about trauma was trauma happens to a child. The big trauma, obviously, the big buckets of abuse, neglect, divorce, death, those are big traumas. But little bit trauma ripples happen when children don't have autonomy over their body and autonomy over their space. And so quite often when I'm speaking to educators, their brain is trauma happens over there, at home, over there. The truth is trauma is happening in our programs with the choice of words we use, the tone of voice we have, the stance that we take. We're dominating the kids. We're towering over the kids, right? The trauma is happening in our programs when children don't have autonomy. And I have so many examples of that. I can share a few if you want to, but trauma is real and trauma is happening in our programs. It's not just over there, far away somewhere.
I think it's important. So share some examples so listeners can really understand this concept.
Okay, so little ripples of trauma could happen. I'll give you one very specific example. I had been invited to observe in a program because they were having some behaviors. This was a toddler classroom. And at the drop-off time, this little guy, maybe he is not quite 2 or maybe he's 2, the dad drops him off and the 2 teachers are there in the classroom, one male teacher and one female teacher. And the dad tells the teachers he's wearing big boy underwear today and he is very excited to use the potty. And the little boy enters the classroom, but he's standing by the door. So he has not come in yet. He hasn't made eye contact yet. The drop-off happened, dad did, kiss and fly, and so off he goes. And the little guy is just standing by the wall, right by the door. He hasn't come in. And the teachers say to him, let's go use the bathroom because we have to go outside. But he has not made eye contact yet. And the teachers keep repeating it. You have to go use the bathroom because we have to go outside. He has his hands behind his back. He has not moved yet. And the male teacher picks him up. He picks him up and starts walking him to the bathroom because he's going to force him to use the bathroom because they have to go outside. This little guy starts kicking and thrashing, and the teacher is telling him, you're fine. We're just going to use the bathroom. You're fine. Stop hitting me. Why are you hitting me? He's hitting him because he's feeling nervous and scared because he has no autonomy over his body. You just picked me up and you just transported me. He takes down his pants and he puts him on the toilet. That little boy is thrashing, screaming, yelling. And the teacher is just like, you have to sit down. You have to use the potty. We have to go outside. You can't have an accident. And in that moment, you have traumatized that little boy because you exerted pressure on a little human and he wasn't ready. So the worst would have happened. You could have just let him go outside, have an accident, and he would learn. This example that I'm sharing is not that unusual. We have seen grown-ups grab children all the time. We're not even thinking. And sometimes we are just picking them up from behind. I've seen this happen so many times. This happens more in infant toddler classrooms when they have to do diapering. A child is busy playing, a grown-up will come from the back, they'll just whoosh the child up, and they'll just grab them like this, and the child is kicking and screaming, and they're like, oh, you're fine, you just don't like a diaper change. No, lady, you just whooshed me. Don't be whooshing me.
Yeah.
Right? Just make eye contact. Just come in the front. Just give them a little bit of autonomy. Are you okay? Can I pick you up? Are you ready for changing? Respecting children goes a long way. We're also saying and doing things to children you would never say or do to a grown-up, right? A classic example, I'm sure you've heard this, catch a bubble. Have you heard the catch a bubble?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so catch a bubble is a thing, right? When you don't want somebody to talk, you just like, catch a bubble. It's my turn to talk. Just catch a bubble. Just catch a bubble. And I think about this and I say, if I was going to a program, and I was so excited to share with my supervisor, with my coworkers, something happened. I'm like, oh my God, I can tell you. And they'll be like, catch a bubble. How would that make you feel? How would that make you feel? I'd be like, I slapped somebody and never worked there a day.
Yeah.
Right? You would
Yeah.
never say catch a bubble to a grown-up, but you're saying it to a child all day long.
Yeah.
And that's with the emotional brain, right? And I just want people to just start respecting children. If you won't say it to a grown-up, don't say it to a child. Just don't.
Yeah, those are really great points. So now that we talked about educators, while we're on the subject of that, maybe we could talk a little bit about educators. Like the weight of all of this often falls on the shoulders of the educators. So what do you wish more school leaders understood about the emotional toll that teachers are carrying?
Mental well-being is a thing, right?
Yeah.
Mental well-being is not just a made-up thing. Stress is not just a made-up thing. It's a thing that we deal with as humans. And there's research out that says educators are under more stress than even people in the medical field. Can you believe that? Like educators are under more stress than people in the medical field. So if this is speaking to the leaders now, if this is speaking to owners and directors and administrators, how can we support our teachers? Recognizing that this work is hard, recognizing that teachers can give what they don't get. If you don't give them autonomy and you're very controlling as a leader, it is going to trickle down to kids. How controlling are you in your program is going to make that teacher even more controlling. So that's one thing. The second thing is you need to have somebody on your team who could be a coach for the teachers, somebody who could do one-on-one connects with the teachers, somebody who could connect and understand and make time for the teachers, whether that's your assistant director, owner, instructional support managers. Have somebody whose job is to be available for the teachers, right? There's a whole thing of love language, right? How do we make somebody feel appreciated and valued? Recognizing that we have to fill their emotional needs and buckets so that they can then give to the kids. Having conversations in your campus about mental well-being, encouraging self-care, not as a luxury, but as a necessity, right? I think it's walking the walk and talking the talk, right? It's not just that, well, we believe in mental well-being, but, you can't really take time off. And I'm so shorthanded that you're just going to work. Like reality.
Yeah.
If you really, a lot of the work that I do is for the coaching perspective. That's the space that I'm contributing right now because coaching is a skill and coaching is an art. And just because somebody has that title doesn't mean they can coach grown-ups, coming from a compassionate perspective versus a fearful perspective. So what does that sound like? When we lead with fear, we don't address issues. If you hear a teacher talking at a child and you just walk by and you're like, la, 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 I didn't hear that. Your silence is your permission.
Yeah.
You're giving them permission to say, in this organization, we don't really care if you talk at the kids because I didn't hear it, I didn't see it, because if I say something, you're going to walk and I'm shorthanded, so I just won't say anything.
Mm.
That's leading
Yeah.
with fear. How about if we lead with compassion?
Yeah.
Right? How about if we lean into and ask them, what's going on? How are you? How can I help? What do you need? I heard you talking at the kids. Tell me more. What's going on? Every
Yeah.
time you don't bring up something as a leader, your silence is your permission.
Yeah. And, we have to really remember too, educators, they're not just teaching, they're co-regulating in the classroom. They're showing up for children's emotions while they're often suppressing their own. And without that intentional support, like you said, space to breathe or systems of care, there's no surprise that you're going to see burnout. You have to be
Yeah.
intentional in the systems that you have to support your people and yourself.
So even if we talk about regulation, because you just mentioned regulation, so even let's
Mhm.
talk about regulation. How would you describe regulation?
I would describe regulation as when everybody feels comfortable in their space, that people are able to contribute to the classroom in a way that's meaningful to them, because not everybody moves at the same pace. Some kids are a little bit more active, others might be introvert. So just being able to function in a place where everybody feels good, everybody feels safe. That's the way that I look at it.
Yeah, and so that's important. And what you're describing is that you're in your calm brain and you're not reacting. And that's kind of what you're saying, right? Like you're functioning in your
Mhm.
space. Here is the definition of regulation. Regulation has three parts to it. What am I feeling?
Mhm.
What caused it? And how can I help myself? Right? So regulation is, what am I feeling right now? I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling irritated. I'm feeling jealous. I'm feeling embarrassed. I'm feeling shy. What are you feeling? Being able to identify it, label it, and what caused it? And then how can I help myself right now? So here's the thing, 90% of brain development happens in early childhood. We know this. But if the grown up doesn't know how to regulate, they cannot then co regulate. Because co regulation is, I can help children to identify what are you feeling in the moment and what caused it, and how can I help? How can you help yourself? I was in a classroom and this teacher did it so effortlessly and so beautifully. And I was just so impressed with her. Miss Tracy. Miss Tracy is a pre K teacher, and her classroom ran smoothly. It was just running itself. Like at some points, I didn't even know where she was because she was with the kids on the floor. Like you were like, what? Is there a teacher in here? Like she was absorbed in it. But this is what she did so beautifully. She co-regulated so beautifully. They were doing some artwork at the table. She had a couple of kids and the rest of them were playing. And there was glitter and glue involved. And you know how messy that gets. That's like already disaster waiting to happen with the whole glue and glitter thing together. And this sweet girl, Sophie, she's over there trying to work on her thing and she starts going, eh, and she starts kicking her legs under the table and she's going there. And the Miss Tracy calls it out so beautifully. She's like, Sophie, you're feeling frustrated. Named it. What caused it? Oh, you have glue and glitter stuck on your fingers? How would you help yourself? Would you like to pause and go wash your hands before you continue? She just wove it right in that she was feeling frustrated. Before it escalated, she was just
Mhm.
calling it out. This happened throughout the day. The lunch was late that day. The kids were getting antsy, and she just called it out. She's like, you guys are getting impatient. Named it. What caused it? Oh, lunch is late. What can we do right now? Let's do some finger play. This lady is co regulating throughout the day. The kids are hearing what they're feeling, they're getting ideas how to solve it. So, yeah, she's completely regulated, and so are her kids co regulated. You can give to kids what you don't have. If you don't
Yeah.
even know what you're feeling, you don't have self awareness, you're not regulated, you definitely can co regulate because they're depending on you. They haven't mastered
Yeah.
this yet.
Yeah. And that's not just for the teachers, because the admins in the building, or when you're frantic and you're on edge and your energy is that that's going to trickle out to your teachers too. So I think, it's important if you're in the admin position. It isn't just the teachers who need to be able to, articulate what's going on, but also the admin.
The role modeling, right? The role modeling. So,
Yeah.
are we talking about it in our staff meetings? Are you teaching them strategies of breathing? Are you a breathing program? That's one of the things I do when I start coaching a program. They become a breathing program. There are strategies that you can implement to become a breathing program. So, intentionally, we're getting in front of it. Stress is high. We are being proactive instead of reactive, and we have a plan. We breathe throughout our classrooms. We do stretches. We have a program that every hour we're all taking breathing, oxygen in. It's not just breathing on its own, but it's allowing for the stress to leave your body because stress is real.
Yeah, stress is definitely real. So we talked a little bit about kids and a little bit about educators, a little bit about leaders. As we start to wrap up a little bit, what are some things you'd like to leave the listeners with that I didn't ask you?
I think the most important thing is to recognize that the work that we're doing is critical, it's important, it's meaningful, it's impactful. So think of ways that you can educate yourself about social emotional learning. Social emotional learning, brain development, neuroscience helps us to go a long way. I didn't know this when I was growing up. When I first started teaching 40 years ago, I was a very compliance driven teacher. I ran a tight ship and I was very proud of it. Like my bulletin boards were done, my shelves were clean and organized, and I didn't know that I was making my job harder. When you know better, you do better. Now, fast forward, I think I've been involved with social emotional now for the past 16 years. Our oldest granddaughter is 12, so I'm keeping up with that. It was right before she came into our lives that I started getting more into social emotional and neuroscience, right? So if you don't know enough about the brain science, do some professional development for your teachers so you understand the brain states. So you understand the behaviors associated. Then you understand strategies, how to deal with them. None of this is unusual. None of this is out there, but we have to learn about this. When you know better, you do better. And I think enough of us don't know about the brain. And so we're not coming from that perspective that the grown-up brain impacts the little human's brain. You want to fix that behavior? Start with this. You fix this, then they will be fixed. It's not the other way around. You can't do quick fixes for them. You have to change your mindset. You have to become behavior detectives. You have to learn about the neuroscience, and then you can do better because this is not going to just go away.
Yeah. You used the word behavior detective a couple of times. Can you maybe give a couple quick tips on how somebody does that? How to, obviously,
for sure.
you're a specialist, but the folks who are not specialists right now and they want to just start moving forward, what are some tips that they can do?
Yeah, so 100%. So I described you the 7 F's that come with a survival brain. What I didn't get to was the emotional brain. The behavior with the emotional brain looks different. That's your attention-seeking behavior. So just knowing that attention-seeking behavior is a relationship-seeking need. Your class clowns, your class bullies, those are doing it to get your attention. The defiant kids, the ones who are not listening to you, they're doing it because when I don't listen to you, you get into back and forth with me, I get your attention. Children don't care if it's good attention or bad attention. If I need attention, I'm going to get it, right? So then behavior detective means when I see a behavior, I'm going to ask myself, is this child feeling scared right now? Or is this child doing it to get my attention right now? If I decide, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, who knows? There's nobody judging me. I just got to make a call. I just got to calm my brain down to just find out what is this behavior telling me right now? That's how I'm being a detective. Are you in your scared brain right now? Or are you in your emotional brain right now? If I decide that you're in your scared brain, then here's the magical sentence. You are safe. I'm here to help you. You are safe. Because those 7 F's, they are anxious, they're nervous. So I'm just going to use that sentence to calm your stress down, to reduce your anxiety, to help regulate you. But if you're doing it to get my attention because you know better, these are the kids who push your buttons because they know better and they just push your buttons, they just poke, 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 poke. Then I'm going to use these 5 sentences. These are the 5 sentence starters. Instead of just saying, stop it, don't do it, walking feet, gentle hands, all of that is just correct, correct, correct. I have a sentence I use, the more you connect, the less you correct. The more you connect, the less you correct. The kids who are doing it to get your attention are trying to connect with you. So how do you connect with them? Using these sentences. Instead of focusing on what they're doing, focus on what they're feeling or what's happening underneath. I see, I hear, I notice, I understand, I wonder. The minute I do I wonder, I'm shifting from my head to my heart. What is happening underneath? Are you embarrassed right now? Is that why you're being the class clown? Do you just need a hug right now? Right? That's how you become a behavior detective. You start to find out which brain state is a child in, and then the approach is different because the emotional brain wants to be seen and heard and understood and loved, right? So give it to them. I see you. I see you jumping around. What's going on? It sounds simple, but it's very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. I imagine it is. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom with us today.
Thank you.
And, I think you really just helped remind us that children don't need to be fixed. They need to be understood. And teachers don't need to be tougher. They just need to be supported. And burnout doesn't begin with weakness. It begins with when we understand that we can't pour from an empty cup. And leadership isn't about always having the answer. It's about being present enough to ask the right questions, to listen deeply, and act with care. So for those of you who are tuning in, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. If this is your first time tuning into our show, head on over, give us a review. It helps us find other educators. And if you think somebody in your team could use this wonderful wisdom that Prena shared with us today, share our link. And thank you so much and have a great night.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, all the cute little kiddos have been picked up and it's time to go home. And that'll do it for another episode of the Child Care Director's Chair. Please leave a review so Erica knows the information is helping you to manage and improve your childcare centers. Remember to subscribe to get the latest episode from Erica's Child Care Director's Chair.